I gotta make it's live streaming, but I gotta make you a co-host, whatever. But yeah, go ahead.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, 7:05 p.m. We'll call the Community Development and Budget Priorities Committee meeting to order. And we'll also be doing a public hearing on the fiscal year 2026 budget priorities and district needs. Start with introductions. I am Ryan Barthel, the committee chair.
I am Stacy Angelan, the co-committee chair. I'm Cynthia Rodriguez, community board chair.
Guests in person.
Diana Finch, tonight representing Bronx Park East Community Association.
Lainey journalist for the Bronx Bulletin.
And the folks online, would you like to introduce yourselves? Hearing nothing.
I'm Miguel Dyer. Hello.
Barry Moriello
normally
from the Allison Merchants Association.
And normally I don't stay, but it's Jeremy Warnicki, District Manager, Community Board 11. I just want to do attendance and put attendance on that. So I see Ryan is there, and so is Cian, but no Dwayne.
Yes.
Correct. Haven't heard from them.
Okay, so I'll mark him absent until further notice.
Okay. All right, Miguel, you started. If the floor is here, or you can go now. And Naomi, if you're there, go ahead. If not, we'll move on. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda tonight is the public hearing. We'll be talking about the fiscal year 2026 budget priorities and district needs, or more appropriately, we'll be hearing from the public about their thoughts on what the district needs might be. If you have any thoughts based on what our prior district needs and community descriptions were. And before we get into that, I'd like to remind everyone of our pre-meeting statement. Community Board 11 meetings must be held in a professional and hostile-free environment. The following rules of conduct are applicable to members of the public, Community Board 11, and Community Board 11 staff. Any action or behavior that disrupts or interferes with Community Board 11 business will not be tolerated during any Community Board 11 meeting and may result in the individual being asked to leave. If the action or behavior continues, this may be considered disturbing the peace and the appropriate authorities may be summoned. If the meeting is held remotely, the person may be muted or expelled for the remainder. Repeated violations by the same person or group of people may result in further action by the Community Board. All public speakers must address the full board or the committee with their concerns. Electioneering for a position other than an officer of Community Board 11 is prohibited. Engaging in acts of violence, including threats, are grounds for immediate suspension of the right to attend meetings, pending review by the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee. Respecting the equality, diversity, and privacy of all persons by respecting and valuing differences of culture and opinion. Refrain from unpleasant or disparaging remarks and other actions. Abstain from all forms of harassment by actively discouraging it, and disseminating false information is prohibited. Back to the start of the public hearing, there's a statement on that. Prior to the start of every public hearing, each member of the public wishing to speak shall submit to the chairperson in writing on a form provided by the board a request for speaking time. Such request shall set forth the speaker's name, the name of any organization which the individual may represent, and whether the individual favors or opposes the proposition which is the subject of the hearing. Those opposed to the proposition shall be heard first, and those in favor shall follow. The chairperson shall call only the names of those who submitted requests for speaking time. Each member of the public should be entitled to speak for an amount of time predetermined by the chairperson. The only request, should I take your email from earlier as a request to speak on your budget priorities, or? Yep. Okay, so that is the only one that we had prior to the hearing. If anyone else has any thoughts after Ms. Finch is through speaking on the needs in Bronx Park East, then we'll go first in person and then virtual attendees. The floor is yours.
Here, I brought copies of our proposals. So last spring at a Bronx Park East Community Association meeting, we discussed as a group the requests that we'd like to have. And the good news is that actually 2 of them have already happened, so we don't need to request. One was a new turf field for the soccer field at Allerton inside Bronx Park. And I've forgotten what the other one. Oh, the other one was for the schoolyard at PS 96. It floods really badly every time it rains. But at the end of the summer, they put in drains, and so.
Yeah.
So our remaining requests are additional pedestrian level lighting along Bronx Park East and in Bronx Park. And the pedestrian level lighting is on the streetlights. They now sometimes add a lower arm with a light, and they've done it like, occasional streetlights along Marshall Parkway, Bronx Park, Pelham Parkway. But we want one on every single light. And where there's an area in the park right by the sidewalk that people use, to have it angled over into the park, which would allow residents to use the areas right inside the park, like in particular the adult exercise equipment area near Allerton between Britain and Arnell, because they work out, there's teams of people that work out every evening, but in the fall and winter it gets dark by 4 and 5 p.m. It's really hard. And then further than that, lighting inside Bronx Park at the Allerton turf field and the skate park, because both those areas are heavily used in the afternoons and evenings by children and adults. And really for 6 months of the year, from September through mid-March, it's dark by 5, even 4:30, which means you can't use the field safely. So lighting inside the park, it could be street lamp style or maybe a few sports field lights to allow many more hours of use. And then the third request was adding angled parking to the residential side of Bronx Park East wherever possible between Pelham Parkway North and Allerton, because we've lost so many parking spaces throughout the area due to the reconstruction of Pelham Parkway that extended all along Pelham Parkway North all the way to Bronx Park East, and the new daylighting that they're adding here and there at intersections. And at the same time, we have 10 new buildings in that area, each one in a place that used to be an empty lot or a 1 or 2 family house. So increased need. So those are our requests in order of
Priority.
preference. Yeah, priority. And we would also like to be reminded what the district needs are. If that's been decided.
So the district needs. Let me share this so that everyone is looking at it. I'm pulling up the district needs report. And what that is it's kind of a summary of all of the needs that are put in, as well as a blurb about each different section and the community as a whole. And that comes from the requests that are submitted. This one must be, yeah. And this is just about the report itself, and it's the same for everybody. And then it gets into some issues, some descriptives about the community. And then you get into the summary of the, top 3 pressing issues overall. Those are things. We also have included a link on the agenda for public input on those top district needs. And then those will be, excuse me, those will be collated and input here. Last year was talking about parks and needing greater parkland, more school seats, and addressing traffic concerns. And then on here, it talks about the district in general and important issues related to each service area. And then the service areas are connected to city agencies. And it's linked on the agenda, linked online. It's 68 pages, so there's quite a bit in there. But then each request that was shared for that year will be put into this document. So if you go down a little further, capital requests related to health and human care. And like we talked about in June, I believe that they don't particularly care for us repeating them year after year, the same request. And I guess my thought is we should request the things that were submitted. And we'll talk more about that in the meeting part. And that's it for people who have registered to speak. Does anyone else want to speak on the fiscal year 2026 budget priorities? All right, if something comes up, we can come back to it, but otherwise, that'll be the close of the
I
public
have my
hearing.
hand raised.
I'm sorry, I can't see. I didn't see that. Yeah, go ahead, of course.
Oh, that's all right. Just to kind of piggyback on what Ms. Finch was saying, as far as lighting along Bronx Park, I know exactly what she's talking about. They just finished doing kind of the inverted streetlights on underneath the Bronx Park East train station, and it's made a world of difference. So I guess my request would be to include along Bronx Park, from Pelham Parkway South all the way to Sagamore Street. It gets very dark in the evenings, particularly with autumn and winter coming. Further, I did bring this up when they were changing the south parking lot. There are no electric vehicle charging stations anywhere in my immediate area. Basically between like Williamsbridge and Pelham Parkway and the south entrance of the zoo. It's a complete desert, and outside of building a new parking lot to to replace the one that they just turned into permit, it would be nice to have that option. And
May I
that's
just-
all I have.
May I just respond to what he just said?
Sure.
So Miguel, we did include in our request for the lighting on Bronx Park East, all the way down through Newport Road.
Oh, okay, great.
And the electric vehicle charging stations are being installed in what they call the North Municipal Lot. I don't think they're ready yet, but they are putting them in there. And for the lighting, we also specified that it's very much needed on that stretch of the park that runs along the South Municipal Lot.
That's exactly, that's kind of the biggest issue there. So thank you. I just wanted to make sure that those details were clear. And of
Alright.
course, if they could put the electric chargers on this side of the lot, then I would maybe think about paying for the permit. Thanks.
The ones you're talking about, they're installing, that's the lot on White Plains Road?
Yes.
A little bit, okay.
That would be across from CBS.
Yeah, yeah.
They are underway installing them.
Okay. All right, now that I see where the hands are, I don't see any other hands raised. Okay, Naomi.
Sorry, I really can't hear you guys. Is the volume in the room low? Is anybody else not having a problem? Maybe I'm the only problem.
I'm not having any issue.
I hear them fine.
You hear fine? Okay, so it's me. Okay, no problem. But the question I have, I'm sorry if I missed this. Did you collect everybody's requests already?
I've collected, they're not, well, everybody's, you are everybody.
Oh, you have
So
mine?
I do, yes. Hazel
Oh,
has
okay.
forwarded them to me and got them. Yep.
And no, I'm sorry, can I ask that anybody else submit?
I have my own, but no one else,
Really?
correct.
Okay. All right. Did you guys have a deadline already? We passed the deadline already for submissions? Because I
Yeah,
think,
so
maybe tomorrow we should ask. Uh-huh.
initially the deadline, so this was back, Malcolm and Serena raised this. It was set for June 30th, and then at the June full board meeting, we mentioned that we didn't have any, and I believe it was Rich suggested moving it back. We moved it back to August 30th, and
Oh,
of course you
yes.
got yours in over the summer, but that's it. And
Hmm.
so
Okay.
I'm sort of the mind that I will take them as they come, but with no guarantee that they're going to get in there, just because we had a couple of deadlines and I had two
Yeah.
kids and other things going on. I'm going to do the best I can with whatever people are able to submit. But,
Um, okay, I do have a suggestion in terms of this. A lot of time, even for me, it was new to me, till Serena brought it up to me. Um, I I would recommend, and we can do it through my committee or your committee, but if we could do maybe a training on how to fill it out or what the application is requesting. Maybe if people feel it's overwhelming.
yeah, I mean, that could be something interesting to do. I had this as well. Maybe not overwhelming, but not 100% sure what an appropriate request might be. So yeah,
Right.
it could be helpful. Another thing to mention, the community district needs online survey that's linked in the agenda is another way to submit something without it being quite as, I guess, formal as something we might need a training for. That's just a simple Google form that you send something in. And again, it's linked on the agenda. So that might be another way that people can get something in without feeling like they have to develop a very well put together sheet like you sent in.
Well, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, like sometimes things are intimidating. It was intimidating to me, right? At first I was like, what am I doing? So um maybe others are feeling that way. That's why they didn't submit anything.
Yeah, that would probably be, I guess my thought would be to save that for next spring after the budgets come out. We were looking at these and then say, all right, now we got to be thinking about these for the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll make a note of that.
For the survey, how are those responses collected? Is it something that you get in real time or
Great
how does that
question.
work?
If it's,
Okay.
I doubt it's something I get in real, well, I don't know. Let me switch to it. We can look at it together anyway. Because I'm not sure. I haven't gone through it. My guess is that what will happen when I log into their the website for building this, and this is probably in the training that I took
Mhm.
back in March or whenever it was, but that those will be in there. Yeah, I'm guess because it does note who I am. It knows who I am and what
Right.
district I represent. It's putting it in this way. I'm guessing it's going to be already in there. So okay. So it doesn't come to me, it'll go directly to them. So if you're worried about me messing up whatever you put in there, that's a way to look at it. All right. If there are no others, we'll close the public hearing and move on to the meeting itself.
I forgot one thing.
Go for it.
I don't know if it's appropriate for, I guess, this year, but I know that we'll be discussing, or the board will be discussing the bike lane on Pelham Parkway, but that's also a kind of a big deal.
Yeah, we're not gonna. Oh, you were there at the meeting, but anyway, since brought up, not going to be talking about it at the full board meeting, but then at the transportation meeting we will be. And yeah, that's one of mine on my list of things to include. So maybe I'll put your name on it and draw some of the fire away from me.
Please do, please do.
All right. That'll conclude our public hearing on the fiscal year 2026 budget priorities and district needs. Next is a review of meeting minutes. I have them into Jeremy. He's working on them. We'll have May and June of last year's meeting, last year's minute for review probably next month. And then we have to do our committee chair election. Are there any nominations for committee chair? Would you like to do it?
So actually,
I could nominate him again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I nominate Ryan.
I will continue with the request that Cynthia appoint some more people to this committee
Yeah.
so that I can pass it off.
yeah.
And I was told that the way the bylaws are written, I get to choose my co-chair. So as long as you consent, will you remain as co-chair?
But now I those more people.
Right. All right. And now for the 2026 budget priorities and district needs. I think we've already talked about everything. I will be working in this coming month to input them into the system. And we'll have more to talk about it next month, but I've received from Naomi, myself, and now a couple from Miguel and Bronx Park East Community Association. And to try and bump those numbers up next year, we will try and hold a training of some sort in the spring. We'll work on that. Any other comments on that? All right, we'll move on to the gallery session. We had no one registered prior to the meeting. Does anyone in person want to speak in the gallery?
Sure, I'll speak in the gallery.
Okay.
A question relating to the budget priorities. How do you get the proposals from like the schools and the institutions and groups that are not community associations or board members or committees? Because there were a lot last year from schools and
I don't know this for sure, but my guess is that that comes in through the online survey.
like
But
you
I
don't
don't
have to
know.
reach out to youth or anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't believe. Well, I was going to say I don't believe, but I know that Serena was superhuman and doing way more work than she probably ought to have. So she may well have reached out to them. I have not, but I'm guessing that it's coming in through these online forms, the portal.
And then I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to the Norwood News. It has an amazing article in it about Community Board 7. It's like a deep dive into their Parks Committee meeting about budget requests. And apparently they had a committee meeting devoted just to running through all their budget requests. And they really went into great detail, addressed all the parks, major parks in their district, compared things to the prior year. It's like very impressive. Puts us to shame.
Well, I know that in this spring, after they had been submitted and the mayor's budget had come out, or the preliminary budget had come out, we did go through and went through it request by request. Not in super deep detail, but they had done that. But you're saying that they went through it to identify new
Right.
things that they could request? Yeah.
And think about the ones from the prior year, what kind of responses, did they want to repeat them? What were the new ones?
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
very impressive. It's like a model for how
yeah.
community board committees should
That sounds
tackle
like
the
a very long
process.
meeting. But at the same time, if you had someone, a representative from each committee who could speak to each of these different areas, I'll have to look that up. Thank you for sharing. Anyone online? All right, we have no motions to deal with. Old business, Juneteenth event thank you letters. Jeremy, do you have anything about that? I don't remember where we left that off, I guess.
Well,
You-
we were
Yeah.
in the process of putting it together.
Okay.
So hopefully we can like get it done. I'll try to do a little list of like some of the business that donated, were sponsors, and the elected official that were sponsors.
Okay.
Whether it's food or money.
Yeah, work in
And
progress.
then we'll try to get an official letter from Jordan out either by email, I guess, or mail.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Thank you. New business?
I don't have any. Thinking about putting requests in, that's all I'm thinking about. Cynthia, do you have anything?
No, I'm just thinking about the
Mhm.
thank you letter, because I know that there had been discussion. And then I emailed, I don't know if I emailed Jeremy, it was like a one sentence to add to it, and then I think it kind of
Yeah,
flew into the ether.
summer happened.
Yeah. All right, I think I'll follow up with that.
All right, if there is nothing else, motion to adjourn.
I second it.
We are adjourning the meeting at 7:34 p.m. Thank you everyone for attending and for your input. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Same to you, Miguel.
You as well.